Hello, my dear ones. Dr. Morse here. Whew. It's cold. What is this? It's supposed to be 36 tonight. Now, that's bucking freezing. Well, we've got a lot of plants that do not like freezing. And some of the nicer ones are big, full blown coconut trees. I've got coconut trees finally giving me some beautiful coconuts from the hurricane, and the freeze could get them. So I hope not. Oh, God. It's one of those things, you know. We've got global cooling down here. But a lot going on in the world, isn't it? I'm excited to see Kennedy come in, though. I'm excited to see people start understanding the truth, especially when it comes to vaccines and antibiotics and all these things like this. Understanding what the fallacy of this world is and the toxicity of pharmaceuticals, not to be lightly taken. And it is lightly taken on TV. You see a commercial, it's like another pharmaceutical out. And it's like the side effects continue to get worse. It's unbelievable. I was in a doctor's office the other day doing some wrapping, and this is a health and wellness magazine out of Naples, looks like. And we have articles, lymphedema and vein disease. So, stem cell awareness, here's one on bioidentical steroids, like it's no big deal, take bioidentical steroids. Wound care and lymphedema. I mean, I haven't read through this, but you got a lot of medical stuff in here. And it's like, please, to the editors of this, there's nothing healthy about the medical profession whatsoever. That's not who they are. We're the health people. Well, we're the health and awareness people. Naturopathic is, not allopathic. Allopathic doesn't understand what lymphedema is. Allopathy doesn't understand that bioidentical steroids are just, they claim in here that they're plant-based, you know, like your precursors for progesterone and stuff like wild yam, stuff like that. Not all bioidentical steroids are like that, guys. They're looking at your overall endocrinology, seeing and then giving you different steroids for different or hormones for different glands. It's an insane practice in the first place, and it takes in this whole misunderstanding of treatment. We're going to treat your senses, but we can do it better naturally. Well, this is true. I mean, I'll get to that. We can do it better naturally. But true health does not belong to allopathy. But they keep stealing things, you notice? But health belongs to naturopathy. And the whole system of natural health, chiropractics, acupuncture, massage, this is all in the natural health field. If the allopathy wanted to join and become a part of this field, you would have to start learning about toxic-free pharmaceuticals. You would have to change the way you understand the concept of diseases, because you've ruined almost the natural health field by the ridiculous concept of diseases. It's ridiculous. You know, chemistry is chemistry, and the human body is what it is. And the human body is a frugivore species. Sorry, you can holler all you want down the world of carnivorism and everything else, but there is no denying the Homo sapien, as well as the Homo erectus, the hominids. You can go right on back, frugivores. And, you can argue it, but now let's enter one deciding factor, clinicals. You know, you can say one thing all you want. I ate raw meat and overcame MS. I heard someone say that. And I'm like, yeah, right. And then you've got your testimonials. You've got your regeneration people, and look at that side of it. It is amazing. But to be honest with you, we're about the only group that teaches this now. And hopefully we'll get more into this. Hopefully this doctor, whoever this doctor is about lymphedema, will understand the lymph system and the fact that the kidneys are the main players here. And all this is just like treatment-based, but with more natural things. These health magazines need to grow out of that. There's nothing, the medical field does not offer health and vitality. That is the natural health field. And it's a totally different field. So I don't know what to say about it other than too bad, All right. It's cold. Dang. I think I'll move down to Costa Rica. Of course, I almost moved to Costa Rica in '68. It was the Vietnam War, and a bunch of us are going to Costa Rica or Canada, It's like, where are we going to get killed at? Vietnam? Where's that at? Dear Dr. Morse, I hope this message finds you well. Yeah! First of all, I would like to thank you for your videos, which have truly helped. I hope so, because I tell you what, I do these videos for you guys, because I'm sitting in the Indian restaurant the other day. I ordered some food to go. It was the other evening, and I'm waiting, and this little 8-year-old girl goes like this. She says, "Are you Dr. Morse?" And I looked at her and I go, "Yeah." She goes, "Thank you for saving my life." 8 years old, probably. The mother came up holding this beautiful baby, quite large. I think she's feeding that baby healthy. Like, these babies that are getting healthily fed they're showing it, right? That's why I do this. There's nothing in it better than helping someone out of their miseries. And we can do this. All of us together can help people out of their miseries. If they're willing to, look, let's try it, right? Let's try it. And then off you go, For a year, I experienced gas and bloating. Okay, so let's stop right there. For a year, he's experienced gas and bloating. Well, the first two things you want to look at is, number one, the foods, right? Are you combining your foods wrong? Even if you're raw, you will never put fruit on top of vegetables. I was just talking to Matt about that. I was laughing about that. And I've talked about it on videos. I've done a lot of radio in my world, and I had a radio show, and someone calls in and says, "Guess what happened?" So this old man and wife, I don't know how old they were, but he had a bowl of oatmeal for breakfast, right? This was in our town. He had a bowl of oatmeal for breakfast, and he was still kind of hungry. He said, "Honey, you got any watermelon in the refrigerator?" And she goes, "Well, I just happen to have some watermelon." So she gave him a nice big piece of watermelon. He says, "Honey, I'm off to Home Depot, and I'll be back in about an hour." Right? Off he goes. 2 hours went by. 3 hours went by. 4 hours, the wife's freaking. Phone call. Charlotte County Sheriff's Department. "Honey, is this Mrs. Such and Such?" "Yes." She said, "Are you looking for your husband?" She said, "My God, he's been gone. He left this morning early and he hasn't come back." He said, "We arrested him this morning for DUI." She said, "How did you do that? My husband doesn't drink." So you'll have to understand where fermentation, there was a Columbus, I won't get into that, but there was a Columbia airline jetliner crashed into a mountainside in Columbia. And they actually went to his breakfast. The only thing they could find out was something about his breakfast. So you're talking about alcohol and all of that. We produce alcohol all the time. People combine their foods wrong. And when you combine your foods wrong, you're going to get fermentation and putrefaction depending on the chemistry involved. You do protein and starch, you're going to get both fermentation and putrefaction. So you can get gassy and bloaty from that, all right? So let's assume that you're doing really good. Fruits on top of anything? No way, Jose. You don't mix fruits with anything. Or you're going to, for me, I'll be gas pains. I'll be bending over, hurting really bad. Can't do that. Of course, the other thing is going to be enzymatic. You're going to be looking at pancreatic. Are you producing enough enzymes? So when you have a case like this, you want to talk to a person about digesting in the mouth. Get some pH papers and have some fun, guys. We sell them here, but get some pH papers. And what's your saliva like? It always got to be alkaline or bye-bye teeth, right? Acids yank what? Calcium. Breaks up bone matrix. Yep. So you know what I was thinking? Yeah, you always want to definitely check the pH of the saliva and all this because, again, if you put in what was I thinking? Kind of went right out of my mind. I don't know why that is. It happens to me sometimes, especially the older I get here. I mean, I've been talking all week here. But when you've got to digest in your mouth, and the more your mouth is acidic, the more it's going to suppress enzymatic production. So you want to chew in your mouth. You really want to keep that mouth alkaline, even if you have to do some bicarbonate, once in a while. But keep checking on that pH of the saliva. So I come up with the word super chew. Matter of fact, I come through and in natural health, we chew your foods 30 times each or 50 times. But you chew your foods good. I'm always the last one at lunch because I'm always chewing my salads and everything really, really good. I just train myself to relax and chew, right? So you might have to do that if you're getting all this gas. I would definitely look at a liver formula. Hitchhike that with a pancreatic form. In other words, do a bottle of liver gallbladder, a bottle of pancreas. So we've got a bottle of liver gallbladder, a bottle of pancreas. I think the barber syrups might be enough for you, but again, you'll have to find these formulas out there. Our formulas are being delayed for the labels, so we're pulling our hair out. So, if not, you want some bitter principles, get some bitter principles somewhere. I think there's some Swedish bitter principles somewhere, and start turning on that gut. Gentian is a good herb to do that. It turns on pancreatic, hepatic, and gut. So there's a lot of good herbs out there that help the body to do that. You want to look at that. But how would you know if you have a pancreatic problem? How would you know? This, you need eye picks. And then you can look right in the pancreatic area and go, right? Whether it's lymphatic, whether it's genetic and lymphatic. When it's genetic, there is going to be some lymphatics. And remember I told you this is one thing about Dr. Jensen. I looked at him and went, what? He goes, in these genetically weakened areas, the blood and lymphatic systems are highly compromised. And I'm looking at him going, did you say lymphatic system? And he goes, yeah. I said, you know about that a little bit. He said, yeah. I said, do you know I brought out the kidney connection? He goes, no. So we all learn. And even when I look at this, I go, okay, we can say that was on the road to. Years ago, people used to say to me, how come you don't work with the medical doctors? Well, I said, I have several of them as patients, but, unless you understand the lymphatic system and you're willing to go there, why would I work with you? You can't cure anything. And I'm about helping that little 8-year-old that came up, or however old she is. Is that worth it? So you've got to change your point of view. Sometimes you have to change your point of view. That's why I say the mind is something that loves points of views. And then you attach the emotional astral body to it, and now you got a whole karmatic mix. So again, stepping back always away from the mind and thought and be the observer. You'll always see more and not get trapped in these things. So, pain in the gut, and decided to visit a naturopath who diagnosed me with a dysbiosis. Following his advice, I adopted a low FOD, FODMAP diet? FODMAP? I never heard of that. But I haven't noticed significant improvements. I don't know what that kind of diet is. I apologize, but I never heard of that. FODMAP. FODMAP. I don't know. More recently, I transitioned to a diet consisting solely of fruits and vegetables. Doing this gradually, while I feel less pain, I've observed that food sometimes feels like it's stagnating in my gut. Well, that's digestion then. See, and if you're not, if your food combinations are correct, then you know it's either pancreatic or hepatic. The fact that you're getting pain, I don't like that one little bit. That means interstitially, your lymphatic system in the walls of the pancreas or liver, wherever you're feeling this pain at, maybe even in the walls of the colon or small bowel, and pain is always, hello, I'm here. I'm an acid and I'm going to rip you apart if you don't get rid of me. Send in the troops. What's that called? Send in the troops. Inflammation. So when you feel food's just sitting there not digesting, again, if your combinations are wrong, the food is just going to sit there. You're going to see fermentation and putrefaction, but you're not going to see digestion, right? So you're going to get bloaty, gassy, absolutely. You can get that bloaty, gassy too when there's no enzymatic process going on in your breaking down of your foods. That's why I say super chew, try to get everything going here, get lymph moving, get the alkaline, tylen going, that's or amylase. But you really want to look at that, and you want to look at your gallbladder. You know, a lot of times where you see pancreatic in the eye, you see gallbladder in the eye, and it's like, ooh. So just look at that. And of course, gallbladder is what? Hydrolyzes lipids, right? Well, what in the heck is lipids good for in your body? What's fats good for in your body? Oh, a gigantic sewer system, which is, this is just it in the finger. That's your sewer system in your finger. Can you imagine in these minute, remote areas, removing these wastes out? And the way how agglomerated man can get, it's amazing that the body can still move out these things out of your hands and out of all these peripheral areas. It's just, the body's just really amazing. Could you provide more clarity on this and perhaps share additional insights on how to address gut, SIBO, okay, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth? Hand me, please. If you have a bacterial overgrowth, that sounds like a naturopath. If you have a bacterial in your overgrowth in your gut, or you have E. coli, or you've got, oh God, there's all kinds, Heliobacter, there's all kinds, right? Why are they there? God doesn't do nothing for nothing, or nature, whatever you want to call it. So let's say that's the problem, which it ain't, but let's say it is. What's the problem? What have you got backed up somewhere? Sewage. Yeah, because bacteria is not interested in hurting your cells. That's stupid. Now, we might argue, but you've got cells, so you got macrophages, and then monocytes become macrophages. So I've never seen a bacterial involvement with cells. You always see a macrophagic type of activity with a cell. I've not seen a bacterial activity like that. But, you know, when your physical body is going back into the atomic structure, let the little creatures feed. Who cares? But that's not your problem. Your problem's going to be enzymatic or improper food combinations, and I'm going to put enzymatic. And I think, of course, it's always going to be going back to enzymatic. Let's say that he's not producing enough, say even the bile duct, where trypsin, chymotrypsin, then you got tylen, you got pancreatic amylase, right? So you got all these digestive enzymes for different types of foods, whether it's protein, starch, lipids, whatever, right? Lipase, you got all these things like that. Who makes these things, by the way? I mean, the pancreas, right? The pancreas and the bile duct. Yeah. But who are they? They're just a bunch of cells got together and buddied up and said, "Look, I'm going to be a pancreas. What do you think? I'll do the insulin over here. I'll do the amylase over here." Right? What would suppress the ability of those cells to produce their whatever it is they are to produce? Right? They're goodies. What would suppress that? Blood? Because there's only blood and lymph interstitially. That surrounds the cells. Blood and lymph. That's a good question. I don't know. So you always got to remember the sewer system. And if you guys take anything from this old man, the sewer system, the lymphatic system, you have colds and flus. Like this little girl had a lot of serious problems, I guess, but you have to invigorate these cells. There's nothing more invigorating than fruits and berries and melons. They're invigorating. They're energetic. They're, I don't even know how to describe it. They're self-cleaning. They don't stick with you. They clean you. They enhance you. But their main focus is neurological. You know, a lot of people are just walking around like this, you know, dead adrenals, dead everything else, but then you're eating dead food. Man has to at least learn that there is a whole system of understanding that deals with unfired, unprocessed foods. That's how I got into this. And then once you go, yeah, look, no animal cooks their food before they eat it. Look, I shouldn't be eating cooked foods either. No. And that when I feed domesticated animals the same thing I'm eating, they get the same things. Oh, they get the same diseases. Wait a minute, diseases. Wait a minute. If they get the same thing I'm getting when I eat this, they eat the same food, then that can't be. See, that's what you have to learn. The chemistry of things, just a little bit, like acids and base. What's the difference between those two? Which foods are more base for you or alkaline? Which foods are more acidic and why? A few things like that, but that's what our school teaches you. Simple stuff. Learn simple stuff and you'll learn the complex. If you head to the complex without understanding the simplistic, you will get lost and stay lost, and that's what's happening medically. They're still working on this adage, I think, that the Homo sapien is in an alkalotic state. As long as you think that way, you're going to give acetate steroids and spinal fluids and stuff like that. You're going to kill your patients. Now, but this thing about bacteria and fungus, guys, these are nature's little feeders. They, you know, there's no food there. They're not going to be around. It's like this morning I had, oh my God, I had at least 400 birds. At least 400. I've been throwing some, I get this shell sunflower seeds that are like broken up a little bit because I've got little tiny finches. So I throw sunflower seeds around outside my door on a lanai. My God, this morning, they were coming from everywhere. Birds were flying in from everywhere. It's like, holy crap. I go through about 40 pounds of bird seed a day, along with peanuts. I get peanuts in the shell. Well, squirrels, blue jays, blackbirds, they all come get those. I've seen a blue jay down at least 3 of those big nuts down the throat. I'm going, what? Funny stuff. But this thing about bacteria, you know, I remember this quite well. It's up at Willie's. Krishner's up in Shipshewana, Indiana. He's a big nature path, good old friend of mine. I was up there lecturing. Well, I followed this guy. I can't remember who he was. He was kind of a famous guy, but his claim to fame was that cancer is a fungus problem. And man, after he got through talking, I was next. And I just traveled in a 350 truck, a Ford 350. And if you know what those are, they're 1-ton pickups. And you know, any little bump, you know, and so I traveling 1,500 miles to go up there and lecture, and I'm all beat up, and I follow this fungus freak, and I'm going, my God, Oh, God. So I wasn't super kind when I got up there because I basically said, if you think cancer is a fungal problem, you've got serious problems because you don't understand chemistry and you don't understand the lymphatic system. A lot more serious than just some fungus. I mean, this is really serious stuff. How long do you think it'd take you to get into this finger and get a tumor out of it? Say a big tumor popped up right here. How would you get it out? Well, you could extract it, I guess. See, that's what you have to understand. To get an agglomulation out of a sewer system like that, and in all its pathways, hydration is the only answer. And hydration is an electrical issue. It's an electron issue. It's electrical, alkaline issue. You don't hydrate when you're acidic. That's dehydration. And most people are highly acidic deep within these pathways, deep within these fingernails that don't grow well, things like that. It's like, that's why sometimes it's difficult when you get extreme cases and you get maybe frustrated. Don't be. You guys are doing a very bang-up job. Try to keep, though, and I've said this before because I want my students to keep focused. That's the one thing about the medical profession. You go up to Sloan or it doesn't matter where you go, pretty much you get the same crap. Pretty much. You've got a little better surgeons, obviously, in places, so you're always looking for the better surgeons, and there are medical doctors that are definitely a lot more aware than others, no question about that. But their whole focus is the same. They're disease-oriented, et cetera, et cetera. Our field is been so scattered because of allopathy and this big lie of diseases that most nature, it's a bacterial problem. Really? So this is why it's so important. Most of you are, and don't take me wrong, and you naturopaths, I love you to death, been a naturopath 50 years. But unless you grow out of this unawareness of naturopathy, naturopathy is a system of regeneration of tissue. True naturopathy is a system of raw foods. And when you get deep into a higher level of naturopathy, you're going to see the fruits come in there, and your practitioner are going to go after your nervous system. You got higher level naturopaths, no question, just like medical doctors, but you lower naturopaths got to get your head out of your butt. Start learning about a little bit of chemistry and a little bit more about how the body works, and especially the lymphatic system, and you're going to have to throw the A&P books away and start using your consciousness. Naturopaths need to be spiritual anyway. You want to come to a God-man to help you heal, or a woman. I like the God women. Katadaki. I've mentioned her before. I was looking at some pictures of some neckmasters. Do I still have them in here? What did I do with them? Where'd you guys go? What did I do with you guys? But Katadaki was in there, and she was like, whoa. Also, can you explain the role of the lymph and the kidneys in this situation? All right. So, going back to the tissues of the pancreas. All right. So you got a bunch of cells and two fluids. Liver, bunch of cells, two fluids. Gallbladder, bunch of cells, two fluids. Breast, bunch of cells, two fluids. Lungs, bunch of cells and two fluids. Brain, bunch of cells. Where are you going to go? You don't find that scenario, all right? Or a way that the lymph has to function on stacked cells and stuff like this. There's always a way the body has to get rid of acidic waste. It makes absolutely no common sense to think that the body retains acids in any manner, shape, or form. Look at how look at the capillaries of your bloodstream. All these capillaries are very similar to that. That's probably your capillary bed as well, blood capillary bed as well. Now, when your capillaries release proteins, do they take them back? No, they don't, do they? Your blood does not want proteins in it, so what does the blood do? Interstitial fluid has another fluid in there, right? Blood and, lymph! That lymph must be the sewer system. Whenever you see lymph nodes, those are those that eat proteins. You can tell a meat eater right off because you can smell them. I won't go there. There's some funny things about that too. But your kidneys are the eliminative organs of your sewer system, like it or not. And I don't care what a medical doctor says. We've had way too many clinicals and many stuff. Get in line and learn. There's a time when you have to take possession of what you know, guys. And don't be intimidated. I used to be intimidated by allopathy. I was only 20 years old, 21, 22. What do I know? Right? But clinically, there's nobody that can out-cure us. Nobody can out-cure us. We cure almost 97% of everything. You're going to get cases where it's too advanced. I love them. But understand then, bring in the other element of who are you really. And that this body is just a vehicle and you're learning how it's put together. Just like a car, you learn about the motor. If you're a mechanic, you learn all the parts and how it's put together. Why is it running? You learn about the electrical system. You learn about the alternators. You learn about all of that, right? So you're learning, well, when they're not electrics. So you're learning about all of that. And all you guys are doing is learning how the human body is put together and the fuel source that is required. But the thing with the Homo sapien is, it's got this mind that's a little more elevated, and so, oh, we're going to try this, and we're going to try that, let's do this. But also, I've always said I think that the Homo sapien has always lived in climates that are not conducive to fruitarianism. You know, you're islanders, of course, and whenever you run, anybody that's been a practitioner in the health field, and has had islanders in their office. And they're in their upper 90s and 100s, which I've had plenty because I'm an herbalist and islanders love herbs, of course. They're smart people. They know where the power of the healing is, and it's in the herb or herbs. So when you get out, I remember I've told you several cases I've had of 90-some-year-old females and males, 100-and-some-year-old males, and that 102-year-old man. I forget what island he's from, getting married for the 5th time. He wanted to get a little winky going. And it's like 102? He says, hell yeah. I'm going. So you have to understand, when you go to the islands, you start looking at longevity. When you go up into Alaska, you don't see longevity. Why? Take a look at the foods and look at the nature of proteins as versus the nature of a fruit. And look at the nature of a Homo sapien. So it's just, maybe this is a whole new golden age. And we will then start be introducing to Trump, or truth. Oh, Trump and truth. That's pretty good. I'm telling you. Can't imagine how good it is that guy won. The world order. I never thought the world order would ever get kicked in the butt. Boy, did it ever. And it's because of the good people the world knew. They know what's going on. Yeah, let's corral you, vaccinate you, and kill you. And when he said, I'm getting out of the corrupt World Health Organization, I almost had a heart attack. They were fanning me going, did you die? No, I said, I just went to heaven. Yeah. Yeah, because remember I told you the World Health Organization was getting treaties with all the countries. And a treaty supersedes their constitution. So basically, anyone with a treaty can override constitutional law. Huh? How'd you do that? That's corruption, more and more corruption. So this is a good swift kick in the butt to those guys. So anyway, sorry it took so long on this. I like to drive my car all around. But it's enough to say is, you got to pay attention to your lymphatic system. Make sure your kidneys are filtering. Remember what that looks like? Can't say it enough. Make sure that, where are we? Here we go. Your jar of urine's got acids in it. And that wouldn't make your urine alkaline, would it? Now, what happens when you go on a diet of raw foods and your urine gets alkaline? That's not supposed to be. Your urine has to be acidic. Can't be alkaline. When an alkaline urine, it means you're losing your electrolytes. Why would you do that? And this is the process of hydration. So don't freak out. And in a way, if you look at this, I don't know if you looked at this, the body loses an X amount of electrolytes through the urine, but at the same time, who's a beneficiary of an alkaline urine? The kidneys and the bladder. So looking at how inflamed and swollen the kidneys and bladder are, it almost is kind of cool that you are losing electrolytes a little bit, so that kick gets to them too, even though you're talking about blood and interstitial and all this other kind of stuff. You still felt urine. If you ever felt a UTI, I felt urine burning you. Okay, so so kidney filtration is vital. If your urine gets alkaline, great. It will turn acidic, because if it doesn't turn acidic, you've got some serious problems. Because as you start to filter, that urine will get into the acid side. And if you got good bacteria in your lymph nodes, then you'll be around the sixes, the low sixes. You won't be peeing on your knees. But the lymphatic system is what suppresses the function of tissue. Or, we talked about that the other day, hyperstimulates it, right? Mm-hmm. You get a hyperthyroid, what's doing it? You get a hyper anything, what's making it hyper? God's making it hyper.